I don't get many opportunities to go letterboxing at the moment. I've got a slightly bigger fish to fry. A new responsibility, something important, something I've got to get right, because it's something you only get one chance at, and the choices made could last a lifetime, and one day be how you're remembered. I'm not talking about having a kid, there's one born every minute. I'm talking about picking the perfect personal stamp, because whether they like it or not, this baby's been born into a letterboxing family. Since they won't be gripping a pencil with intent for a while, or a craft knife for a good while longer, it falls to me to prepare them a personal stamp. Before going any further, I should explain what a personal stamp is. For those who may not know, proper letterboxes won't only house a stamp, but also a visitor's book, a book boxers stamp into using their own personal stamp they carry around with them. This tells the owner of the box and other visitors who and how many boxes have visited, and when. Often boxers leave a little message, most commonly a weather report, and some are very competitive when it comes to being first in a book. Making a personal stamp is a chance to reinvent yourself, to choose a secret identity, and how people exercise this freedom is often amusing, endearing, and sometimes confusing. That's my definition at least. More can be found on personal stamps in Anne Swinscoe's book Dartmoor Letterboxing, a must-have for all boxers, written by a lady who along with her husband Godfrey helped to shape letterboxing into its current form. Here's what Anne wrote about personal stamps. With the demise of the calling card and the introduction of the visitor's book, people started looking for something more personalised than just their name written in the book. So began the advent of the personal stamp. Like the box stamps, these vary enormously in quality, ranging from the well-drawn-out design, professionally printed, to simple rubber cuts with perhaps toy printing set lettering. Most people give themselves semi-descriptive nom de plumes, though some seem obscure except to their owners. Many walkers are only known to each other by the stamps they leave in the visitors' books, and often it is quite a surprise to meet the owner of a nom de plume in person. Anne wrote more on personal stamps in her following book, More Dartmoor Letterboxes, and highlights common themes and formats for creating personal stamps. Adult personal stamps very often are a pun on the name of the owner, or the place where they live, or have some reference to one of the features of Dartmoor. It is surprising how often bogs feature in the names walkers give themselves. The variety of names is infinite, but perhaps the longest list of handles one could make would be of those who use their hometown or village coupled with a descriptive noun. A descriptive noun? Layman's terms, please, Anne. Not all Dartmoor-focused filmmakers are English teachers, you know. Apparently, an example of a noun is a person, concept, or thing. So if someone came from Launceston, descriptive nouns could be added to become the Lanson Lycan Lovers. A somewhat crude example, but hopefully you get the idea. Anne also highlights a common tendency to use the family name as part of their letterbox name, such as the Hiking Hoopers and the Hawker Hikers. And get comfortable, there's more, because I couldn't exclude this summary from Anne. To give oneself a nickname, and to sign oneself in a letterbox book with it, does not sound particularly odd, and to outward appearances, letterboxes are perfectly normal people. But there seems to be something about letterboxing that brings out the nutcase in everyone. Alternatively, it could be the other way around, and only nutcases go letterboxing. Or maybe the rarefied atmosphere of the heights of Dartmoor goes a little to the sanest head. But whatever it is, eccentricity and a well-developed sense of humour seem to go hand in hand with the letterboxing game. Well said, Anne. Hopefully, we're now all up to speed with personal stamps. So let's get on with it. Here's my personal stamp. I'm quite happy with it. In my mind, there's nothing misplaced about a rat boy scurrying about the moor, using cunning to crack clues and sharp senses to scout out boxes, but it also has a more personal meaning. Cue the rat boy origin story. Some watching may remember Plymouth had a mega bowl in Plympton back in the early 2000s, and inside was a side attraction called Quasar, a game where players would dart about a darkened arena blasting one another with laser guns. It was a ton of fun, a bit too much fun perhaps for one overexcited parent who knocked out my front tooth. I was left with a pretty whopping gap, which gave way to adult incisors, complete with a 1.4cm overbite and a gap that would make SpongeBob jealous. Picking up on these rodenty features, a kid 2 years above me in school started calling me Rat Boy, which I wasn't too fond of at the time. Coming out of assembly one day, I thought if I held a door open for him, he'd have to be nice to me, but all I got was, "Cheers, rat boy." It was a crap time, but don't waste sympathy on me. Kids are cruel, and I was no angel. But anyway, to tie this digression together, rat boy is personal to me. So when I enthusiastically created my own personal in the early stages of my letterboxing career, I thought it was a good choice. However, after collecting a few boxes over a few years, I noticed there were prominent themes among other personal stamps that mine didn't resonate with, and I began to question my choice. I began to question if I'd rushed my decision before getting to know the culture. Did I not do my homework? Is my stamp not a proper personal? Best I don't dwell too much on that, I could lose sleep, and it's too late for me. I can't change mine now, after committing the title to all the boxes I visited, but maybe I can learn from my mistake of choosing hastily, and do right by my child, by helping them to pick the perfect personal. Hang on though. Before thinking I was any authority on personals and committing my child to a half-baked codename they'd be stuck with, I put the brakes on and turned to the experts by asking letterboxers in a Facebook group what they thought makes a proper personal and what advice they'd give to a new letterboxer trying to pick one. And the responses were very good. Here's some of the wisdom they shared. The first responder mentioned using a standard format, which was highlighted in Anne Swinscoe's book of pairing their hometown with an activity, which led them to initially go by the Tail Searcher, but they later outgrew it and decided to change to the Green Man after conveniently losing their original somewhere on Yes Tour. This reminded me of my own hasty selection, so it's good to know people do change their personals if they later change their mind. As is another common method highlighted in Swinscoe's books, Murky on the Moor explained their stamp is a pun on his family nickname and references the murky weather that usually wraps Dartmoor's hills. Murky's top tips to anyone picking a personal is to choose something they like about themselves or an interest, to seek the help of a professional rubber stamp maker if a design is intricate, or to use one of the stamp makers advertised in the monthly catalogue email updates if it is a more simple line drawing. And finally, to keep stamps within 2 by 2 inches, otherwise they'll be too big to fit on the pages of most visitors' books. The Morris Travellers and Tanner's Trot the Tours also use their family names, and like Murky, the Morrises seconded using a stamp maker advertised in the catalogue's monthly email update, because they find them more affordable and better than an online service they'd previously used, and the Tanners recommended keeping stamps simple and not too large. Mabel gave the Morris Travellers stamp 4 thumbs up. The Exeter Boghoppers followed the most popular format mentioned in Anne Swinscoe's book, by pairing their hometown with descriptive nouns, and said they chose the name because the kids in the family used to love jumping in the bogs, which is quirky considering most avoid a sludgy sock. The Thursgood Foragers also used the hometown format, but sadly, they'd lost their stamp and couldn't share it. However, in an interesting twist of fate, Murky shared a page of personal stamps he'd collected in the 80s and 90s. And who was among them? The Thursgood Foragers. Get on! Thanks all for coming forward with your advice. Some really helpful tips for somebody considering making their own stamp. That's not all though. For on a rare chance to go boxing, I was faced with something even rarer. Another pair of boxers, who were happy to stop, chat, swap travellers, and share their thoughts on what makes a good personal stamp. So what's your personal stamp and what do you think makes a good personal stamp?
My personal stamp is Where's Gampy, and I think my original mine is my grandchildren call me Gampy, so when I leave it in a book everybody's thinking where's Gampy, so that's my lookout on my personal stamp.
And what do you think makes a good personal stamp? What advice would you give to somebody making their own?
Yeah, if you've got a nickname or a place name that's good to you, I mean that's good. I'm not very good at that. Yeah,
and mine is Escaped Again, for the simple reason, nice weather, out you go, up on the moors go, as often as you can and as many times as you can. And at my age, every day's an extra day, still looking for decent stamps. Yeah,
perfect.
A nice one would be to have a little catchphrase. If you've got a little catchphrase of something you like, and that, like bog trotters and stuff like that, and and Sidmouth Seagulls,
Yeah.
He's. I mean, things like that. I mean, it's what's relevant to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is, you know, and it's a. If you've got a good stamp, it's good. It, you know, and people enjoy it, don't they? I mean, well, we do anyway. So we enjoy collecting.
You're out and about.
Yeah.
You don't see nobody
Fresh
all
air.
day, or you do when people come. What are you doing? Who are you? And as people do acknowledge you, or you can sit there all day
And it's nice to
and
see.
not see nobody.
Yeah.
And no joke, the road's half a mile away, and you could be in a different world
Yeah.
because you can't hear the traffic or nothing. Which is, you know.
And it's nice to see people of your age doing it, you know, because if you have a look at if you go to a letterbox meet, it's mostly people, I'm not being funny, of our age, you know. There is a lot of youngsters coming in, and well, people of our age should get off. It's better than watching daytime TV, isn't it? This, look at this.
Yeah. I mean,
Look at
I'm
this.
73. They're still doing it.
And I'm 25. Anyway.
It's unfortunate, but it seems I wasn't barking up the wrong tree in my last video. Hopefully letterboxing can turn a corner and grow if new members find their way to the hobby. Maybe that someone is you, or someone you know. Anyway, back on track. Time to turn all this waffle into something useful. Here's a list of points to consider if choosing a personal stamp so you can make a more culturally informed decision than I did. Pointer number 1. There are no rules. Do what you want. If it's personal to you, it's proper. Break the mould and be the change you want to see. Number 2. Keep your personal stamp around 2 by 2 inches, otherwise it won't fit in the pages of most visitor books. This is true, my original was about 3 inches tall and I had to downsize to stop chopping the legs off my rat. Number 3. Eccentricity and humour go hand in hand with letterboxing. Embrace your inner nutcase. Number 4. Traditionally, and arguably the most popular format, combines the place you live with a descriptive noun. For example, the Lanson Lichen Lovers. Number 5. Another popular format combines one's family name with a pun. And number 6. Make it Dartmoor related. Ask yourself, what's it got to do with Dartmoor? There we have it. It's no definitive list, just some ideas scraped together from the little that is written on the hobby, and from fellow enthusiasts brave enough to air their opinions on social media, to whom I'd like to again say a big thanks for all your wisdom. And oh yeah, if you're wondering what I decided to choose for my daughter's personal stamp, I decided to ignore all advice except for pointers 1 and 2. I went rogue again and decided on calling her the Egg, because I don't want to deny her the joy of hopefully choosing her own personal someday, at which point the egg can hatch ceremoniously, and out can pop whatever she chooses to go by. Otherwise, my personal may as well be a pushy Plymouthian parent on the moor. The egg also symbolises how I'm putting all mine in one basket, praying my daughter will enjoy letterboxing, a hobby that only costs the price of reaching the moor and a packed lunch. That's all. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, as a reward, keep an eye out in the next catalogue update or next year's catalogue for a new stamp commemorating the birth of my girl. It's called The Egg. Good luck if you go poking for it.